Welcome. Chapter 2, Section 8, Examples. Consider we have three functions graphed here. We've got the blue function, how much someone spends on clothes in the years 2010 through 2015. Red function, how much they spend on groceries those years. Green function, total expenditures for those two items. So if I look at the year 2010, it looks like they spent about $500 on clothing. Looks like they spent $2,000 on groceries. And so my total function, this value right here, should be the sum of the blue function 500 plus the red function 2,000. And that looks about right. That looks like T of X is at 2,500. Let's look at the year 11. C of the year 11 looks to be $1,000. G of the year 11 looks to be a little less than 1,500, maybe 1,300. Oh, maybe it is 1,500. So now, T of the year 11 should be C of the year 11 plus G of the year 11. That's going to be 1,000 plus 1,500 we end up with the same total as we did in the year 2010, but for different reasons. We spent more on clothes and less on groceries, but we still ended up at 2,500. In the year 13, we spent the same amount on groceries as we did clothes, 2,000. And so if we look at the T of X function, we expect that to be 2,000 plus 2,000, which is 4,000. They're going to want you to read these graphs and say, what's C of X, what's G of X, what's T of X? I think you'll be okay on that. Then sometimes they'll graph a G of X and a F of X function, and they don't put T of X in there, but they want you to find operations on those functions. If they wanted you to find F minus G of negative 2, well, what is that? That's F of negative 2 minus G of negative 2. F of negative 2, well, if I find negative 2 on the x-axis, F of negative 2 is negative 2. That's my F function right there. F of negative 2 happens to be negative 2. Oh man, I color coordinated those wrong, didn't I? Let me fix that. So F of negative 2 is negative 2, and we're going to subtract G of negative 2, which is positive 4. Because that point right there is the point negative 2, positive 4. X, Y. F of X equals Y. G of X equals Y. So we get a positive 4 there. Now when you figure that out, you get negative 6. F divided by G of 3. Well, that's going to be F of 3 over G of 3. This means F of 3, when X is 3, F is also 3, because that's the point 3, 3. when x is 3, y is 3. So we get 3 in the numerator. When x is 3, g of x is 9. That's the 0.39. X, that's y, or g of x. When x is 3, g of 3 is 9. And that reduces to 1/3. If we did f times g of -1, that's f of -1 over g of -1. Now, when x is -1, f of x is -1, 1. That's my xy point. When x is -1, y is 1. And y is f of x. So f of -1 is +1. Sorry, f of -1 is -1. Boy, did I mess you up there? Oh, bad teacher. Okay, that point is the point -1, +1. When x is -1, y is +1. And so our answer is -1 total. I think you'll be able to figure those out. Sometimes they make a table, and once you understand what they're doing with the table, it seems silly that it could have been confusing, but oh my, I was really confused the first time I hit it. So they say let x be -3. So if x is -3, we're only interested in this information. F of x plus g of x, that's going to be 8 plus 7, which gets me 15 for my answer. F minus g, that's 8 minus 7. That gets me 1 for my answer. F times g of x, that's 8 times 7, or 56 for my answer. And f divided by g, 8/7. Nothing you can do to reduce that. If x is 0, we're only looking at this row of information. F of x is 10, g of x is -5. That's 10 plus -5 gets me 5. 10 minus -5 gets me 15. 10 times -5 is -50. 10 divided by -5 is -2. Hope you're going to be okay on that. And that pretty much completes 2.8 examples. 2.8 complete and assigned. Bring questions to the next class.